Everybody, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Ready to Die Fighting. I'm Chris. I'm down in my basement in my little bike shop area, and I'm very excited because I just got a new bike. Would you like to see it? As if you follow the channel, you may know that I sold my bike. Why did I say Neptune? Pluto's Revenge. And I was very sad. I liked that bike a lot, but it was way too big for me. And sizing is so important when you're riding a bike. It was uncomfortable. It was actually painful on my elbows and my back. And I liked the bike, but the bike didn't like me. So I had to get a new one. And this one is my size. And what's nice about it is it's the perfect size for everyone in the family. So we can take turns riding it if need be. So would you like to see my brand new bike? Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Isn't it the Rocky song? I don't know. It's whatever. But here it is. It is a K2 Seaside. And it's more of a cruiser style bike. I normally just get mountain bikes, so this will be my first cruiser bike. This thing needs a ton of work, but it was listed for $60 on the Facebook Marketplace. I got it for $40. Honestly, I'm not sure that it's worth that much because pretty much every component on it is trashed. But I know how to fix bikes, and I get discounts on bike parts, so that makes it worth it to me. The only thing I cared about was that the frame wasn't cracked or damaged too bad. And as best I can tell, it is not cracked or damaged too much. Everything else, though, is crap. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of the things I look for in a bike. And like if you're buying a used bike, what to look for, what's wrong, hint, everything. And if it's kind of help you decide maybe if that bike's going to be worth for you. And also, I'm going to be taking this bike completely apart, stripping it down basically to the frame, and redoing it. I don't think I'm going to paint it. I think that would be fun, but it's more work that I want to do, and I actually like the color as it is. So, I will more than likely make a series of videos showing how I do this and the process and all that fun stuff. And yeah. So this is the first of probably many for the refurbishment of Wakanda Forever. I think that's a cool name. Like and subscribe. Let's do this. Now try to change my angle here so the lights don't keep doing that silly business there. All right. So when I am checking out a bike, I like to kind of pick either the front or the back and kind of do like the shape of an M, really. So starting at the very end, at the back wheel in this particular case, and then going up to the seat, and then back down to the cranks, and then back up to the handlebars, and then back down to the front wheel. So it's kind of like an M shape. And that covers everything. So some things that you can look at when you are purchasing a bike or a used bike is one, the tires. Tires are one of the more expensive purchases on a bike. And as you can see here, there's not very much tread left here at all in the metal section where you're actually riding the bike. So this needs at least a front tire. On the cheap end, tires are going to be like $25 or so. So just know that you're going to need at least one tire here. And so that's adding $50 to the price of this bike. That alone may make or break the value of the bike for you. So that's the first and easiest thing you can check, what those tires look like. Secondly, the wheels. If the wheels themselves are bad, wheels are expensive. If you have to replace the wheels, unless you have wheels or can get them at a discount, then it may not be worth it. So looking for a crack along here, severe bending. If there's like a bunch of broken spokes, we've got some loose spokes here, but none of them appear to be broken. And so you can just go through and kind of just squeeze on both sides, do that. All right. And then the other thing to check is if you, so this, grab the wheel and just kind of, oh, you can't see what my hand's doing, can you? Let me back up a little bit if I can. So I'm grabbing the wheel here and the frame and just moving side to side. If there's a lot of play in there, it could be a couple things. It could be that the bolts that are holding it in could be loose, which is the case here. I took the wheel off to get it home to fit it in the trunk because I wasn't taking my car. And so I know I didn't put it back on very tight, but there was very little, actually even with that, I think there's still a little play here. So that's gonna need to be worked on, which is not hard to do if you're fixing the bike yourself. It's not a big deal, but it is definitely an added cost that usually isn't included in your standard bike tune. So it's a good idea to get a regular just bike tune-up on a new used bike, but that typically isn't included. They might be able to tighten that up for you and so that it's not wobbling, but it might be a good idea to get an overhaul. So there's that. You just kind of roughly check if the wheel is true. I'll just put my finger on there and see how much there I can see wobble. This really isn't bad. I can visually see that it's not that bad. So no big deal there. I can straighten that out myself. Let's take a look at these brakes real quick. The brake pads here, can you see that? It's broken. I don't know why it's broken, but it's completely broken. So brake pads need to be replaced. You're looking at probably 18 bucks right there for new brake pads. 15, 18, somewhere around there. Next, let's get to this chain situation. Not sure. Okay. It's definitely rusty, for sure. And there's something missing, the derailleur. The derailleur is completely gone. So even though it's a geared bike, when I reached out to the guy to ask him about it, he told me it was actually a single speed. And in the pictures, I didn't see a derailleur. I believed him. I didn't notice that it had a cassette or freewheel. And so, yeah, the derailleur's gone. And so he was calling it as a single speed bike, but it's not. It's a 7-speed bike that's missing the derailleur. So I'm going to have to buy a derailleur for it, which, depending on which one I get, price could vary there. Chain is very rusty here. Let's check the stretch on it. I'm going to replace the chain regardless, but I'm curious more if, ooh. Oh, you know what? It's only at 50% though, so that's not too bad. So perhaps the teeth on this guy are still fine. And so this tool shows you 0.75 there. Where's you see that? Where it says 0.75, and on this side it says 0.5. So you stick one side in, drop it down. If it drops straight down in between the links like that, then that means it is at, in this case, 50%. If I switch it around and put it on the 0.75 side, it does not go in. So it's not quite to 0.75%, or 75%. At 75%, you absolutely want to change this chain. You're at the risk of damaging the teeth on your cassette or freewheel. And at 50%, you should change it, but you do have some time. You're probably not doing any damage yet. So at 50%, I absolutely am going to change this chain out. I was going to anyway just because of the rust, but for sure, that's why this type of tool is very handy when you're checking out a bike. So I can't test anything with the shifting to see how any of this is, but just looking at it, it's not that rusty. The chain is still good in a sense, so I'm hoping that those teeth are fine, and it's just because it's not going all that smooth necessarily, but you know, what can you do here? So with that, there's a bunch of just cable housing on here that's not connected to anything, and so I imagine since it's just exposed here and there's no cable in there, it's probably just been exposed to moisture and whatever, and so all of these housings that are just hanging out probably need to be replaced, and so I will replace them. What else do we have here? Oops. This stand was a good value. I've had it for a few years, but it doesn't hold things as snug as I'd like, and it seems to be getting worse. It's made by Bike Hand. I got it very inexpensive. I think that maybe it was new when I first got it, like it was a new product, and so that's why it was so cheap. It has gone up significantly in price since I bought it. All right, so as you're checking all this stuff, look for cracks and damage or like massive dents in the frame, you know, some gouges. All of this seems fine to me. The thing that really sold me on this was the frame size. It says 14 to 17 inch, 5'3" to 5'10". I am 5'4", my girlfriend's 5'2", and Nate is 5'7", so we can all ride this thing. How exciting. What else will we look at? The seat. The seat actually seems pretty nice. It's not, sometimes this can rust and it can be frozen, like seized in there, and that's not the case. We were easily able to adjust and remove this, so excellent. Moving forward. Oh, sorry, I skipped the front derailleur because, again, there isn't one. So the derailleur here is missing. That looks like a dent right here, or is that part of the design? Looks like, yeah, there's matching here and here, so maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Again, hard to say if there's any damage here. I can't check how it shifts, but there's the bottom bracket, basically like a set of bearings and whatnot in here, and that's what makes this spin nicely. So this is another one where you can grab both, not by the pedals, but by the actual cranks, and just pull side to side and do it in a couple different positions. And so there's no play in there whatsoever, and it does seem to spin nicely, so perhaps that seems to be in good condition. So, and that's a fairly expensive part to replace. I mean, more than a chain, less than, you know, a wheel. So that, don't have to do that. Excellent. Let's see. Over here, we have the handlebars. And so this is a quill stem type. And so I want to, boy, this is another area that can get really, really rusty and seize up. And there is some signs of rust here. So I did not take this apart or anything yet. I don't know what's going to happen when I do. It might be rusted out and horrible. I don't know. We'll have to find that out. But it's not moving around, so it's in there solid at least. The handlebars move pretty freely, so that's good. And then do the front. Going to do the exact same test here, just spinning the wheels. I would test out the brakes. I mean, well, actually, it's very bent. God. The brake lever itself, look at this. You see that the end of it is broken, but it also feels a bit bent. And so it's moving, but oi. Let's see. So now the front tire, there's definitely some wear. It's not as bad, and that's pretty typical. The rear wears faster than the front does, but your front tire is going to give you more control, and is more important tire. The majority of your braking happens on the front. The front is where you're steering. You also don't have all your weight on it, so it's not as stable. So if you get a blowout or something like that, it can be more dangerous for that to happen on the front than the rear. So since this one, I mean, it's at a point where I would replace both tires, but if you wanted to save some money, you probably could get a few more miles out of this one. And I would take this one and put it in the back, so it's going to be more stable if it does go flat, and put the new one on the front is what I would do. But people have different opinions on that. You know, some people, that's the safer way to do it, but you would get more longevity since the rear tire wears faster. You could put the new one on there, leave this one on here. This would stay good tire longer than it would on the rear. You will replace it faster if you put it on the rear, but it will be safer if it's on the rear. So, you know, just things to keep in mind. This wheel, doing the same little trueness test. Again, it's not bad at all. There's a little bit of wobble there, not bad at all. But doing the same thing, you know, look for cracks, look for loose spokes. Just kind of go through. I already did this. That's why I'm doing it just super fast, not really. But just grab them, squeeze them, see if any of them break loose or snap or move around too much. Brake pads. Front is the same as the rear. You just don't have to worry about the gears. So that's basically it. I kind of skipped the top a bit just because the shifter is here, but I can't test that at all. The cables aren't in there. It's not connected to anything. It does turn well enough, but I don't like grip shifters, and I will most likely swap those out. I'm not a fan of these rubber grips at all, but they are in good condition. So if I wanted to keep those, I certainly could. They're not damaged at all. They're not torn. They feel kind of gross to me, but they work. Overall, the bike doesn't have a whole lot of rust. There's no cracks in it. There's no physical damage, as best I can tell. Oh, I forgot to mention the pedals. Do the same thing that with the pedals, you know, just kind of give a look at them, pull on them, see how much they wobble, if there's a lot of play in there, if it cracks or whatever. But pedals are something that I don't care if they need to be replaced because they're very personal, and people like different types of pedals. That's where I like to bring in some color, so I definitely want to get new pedals anyway, so I didn't care if they were in bad condition or not. Really didn't matter. They're coming off no matter what. So I am super excited about this. Oh, another thing that I skipped. And so I skipped this because I knew that I was replacing it. But look at the cables here. The brake cables are all frayed, and so just plan on replacing those. Realistically, I would, yeah. Look at this one over here. It's frayed, it's damaged, moisture's probably gotten in and everything. So this one actually doesn't look as bad. This little noodle looks bent. It's kind of weird, but I would just replace the cables. But yeah, so here's the new bike. It's going to be a fun little project to work on. I'm excited, and I'm probably going to start right now. So like and subscribe, stay tuned, and next video I'm going to just start taking it apart and see what we get, see what we got. Thanks for watching.